Thomas, no worries. We can hear you and see you, which is the most important thing.
Okay, thank you. I'm on my phone now because the internet, my computer dropped.
Most important is that we hear you clearly.
Thank you.
Okay, Renee, please, let's start. We have already more than 50 people in the room. So just a short intro, and then we pass the word to Dr. Tony.
Yes, good afternoon or good morning where you're based. Welcome to this webinar on making circular economy work for business and industry, which is a joint initiative of the ASEAN Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform as our host, and then the Switch Asia program on the sustainable consumption and production which is funded by the European Union. So I won't say too much right now, except for inviting my friend, colleague Anthony to make an introduction on behalf of the ASEAN Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform and the ASEAN Sustainable Development Center for Sustainable Development Studies and Dialogue. So now I got it all right. So Anthony, why don't you take us forward first for the introduction, and then we move into the subject area of business and industry on the circular economy.
Thank you very much, Renee. My name is Anthony Pratmonra. I work at the ASEAN Center for Sustainable Development and Studies Dialogue. That's a mouthful, as Renee is struggling. Very briefly, in 2019, in order to develop complementarities between ASEAN and the Sustainable Development Goals, there was a Complementarities Initiative report, and part of that report was the establishment of this ASEAN Center. So that was back in 2019. For this particular webinar series, we have developed ever since at our inception the ASEAN Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform. The mission of this platform is a regional facility to support the ASEAN member states to achieve sustainable consumption and production by accelerating the transition towards a circular economy. The platform is part of the EU-ASEAN Partnership on Circular Economy, which was endorsed by the ASEAN senior officials on the environment way back in 2018. And this platform is partly supported by the enhanced EU-ASEAN Dialogue Instrument, or what we call as EREDI, which is a cooperation program facilitating dialogue between the EU and ASEAN. It's hosted at our center, and the platform is also currently being supported by the EU Switch Asia program, to achieve regional knowledge and experience on circular economy and sustainable consumption and production. So with that brief introduction, I would just like to, with that brief introduction, I would just like to welcome all of you here, and I really look forward to our private sector representatives today, with Nai Bang Chat and SC Grant, and I look forward to the following panel discussion on this issue. So with those short words, thank you very much, everybody, for attending this webinar. David, would you like to add a few sentences on the platform? David Trisuvit is the manager of this ASEAN Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform.
Okay, so hi everyone. Hope you are having an amazing day. I'm Trisuvit Ariawat, David, the platform manager. So, in pursuit of the platform mission mentioned by Dr. Anthony, so let me share a little bit on how we fulfill our mission to accelerate ASEAN transition, as we recognizing that the region's circular economy efforts are still early. And from EU Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform and similar regional initiative, we learned the best way to support ASEAN transition to a circular economy. We help share policy commitments, good practices, success story needed to advance ASEAN circular economy agenda. We provide access to circular economy knowledge through a knowledge and information portal, facilitating circular economy stakeholder engagement, and organizing annual conference and events with diverse participation. And on this occasion of webinar series number 1, making circular economy work for business and industry, I encourage you, my circular economy rock stars and champions, to engage with our platform or web portal to learn from diverse types of circular economy knowledge, share your stories, news, events, good practices, business cases, and engage in meaningful activities and collaboration. Please help us help you to support ASEAN transition to a circular economy. And I am looking forward to learning from our discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David and Dr. Anthony, for providing these introductions and this introduction to the ASEAN Circular Economy Stakeholders Platform, which is as was said, one of the co-hosts. I just have a matter of procedure, so maybe the people who are not speaking that to mute the mic so we don't get too many disruptions. Today's proceedings is basically structured in 3 parts. So we will start with a little bit of introduction and stage setting from my side, or basically it's 4 parts. That will be the stage setting, and then after that we have the contributions in 3 parts. First part will be a presentation with 3, or discussion with 3 firms which have implemented circular economy practices in Thailand, in Cambodia, and in Vietnam. Then after that we have a discussion with some of the business representative organizations to see how this experience is being viewed upon by the business networks, and what can this be scaled up. And then we have also some time allocated for questions and answers, and maybe some follow-up discussion. So with that, maybe I can take the liberty to share my screen, and can somebody do a thumbs up to see that you can see? Yes, okay, thanks a lot. So I would like to maybe kick off with one of the activities which is undertaken by Switch Asia on basically getting business and industry engaged on the circular economy, and then with intent and integrity. This is a more principles-based approach for business action on the circular economy in the member states of ASEAN. This is a joint initiative of the Switch Asia policy support components and this ASEAN CSR network, which is represented by Thomas. Thomas, he's also on the call this afternoon, but he entrusted me to speak a little bit about this, so I will go ahead. First, maybe on the people who are not too familiar with Switch Asia, it's the largest program of the European Union, long-lasting since 2007 on sustainable consumption and production. It aims to support the transition to low-carbon, resource-efficient, and green economy, circular economy, and promoting more sustainable supply chains. It's operational since 2007, currently covers 42 countries. And it has a focus on key polluting sectors and export-led value chains like food, fashion, plastics. And it operates through two components. So one is grant projects, which are basically pivoting good practices in the different countries. And that is, I think, currently ongoing 33 projects in the countries which are showcased here on the website, which is listed here below. You can find all the details. And just to mention that there is a call for proposals open for new grant projects. However, what we are speaking about is the policy support component, which is providing short-term advisory support to multi-countries on areas of policy, business engagement, and strategy related to that. So that's the policy support component, which is behind today's call. So under the policy support component, there is different initiatives are ongoing, and one is called Mobilizing Business Action for Circular Economy in ASEAN. And it's really aimed to catalyze business commitment and action towards the circular economy through in-country learnings, consensus building, and commitment. And the issue is really to try to get to a shared understanding of circular economy and its relevance to ASEAN. I will speak mostly on that, to identify then opportunities for collective business action and facilitate and promote the implementation of ASEAN. So we are looking also at documenting case studies, which will go on the platform that David was just speaking about, the knowledge exchange platform. We do this together, as I mentioned, with the ASEAN CSR network, which is the business-led entity, which is recognized as an ASEAN entity that works to advance the implementation of responsible business conduct. So Thomas is on the call, and this works quite closely with the ASEAN Business Advisory Council, and I think Jill is also on the call a little bit later on. With that, maybe as a background on Switch Asia, I come to the topic of the circular economy, and I think it's the key point on the circular economy is intuitively clear that we want to change the predominant take, make, use, throw away linear economic model into something like just take, make, use, recover circular economic model. But however, if once we get this, like it sounds great, but it hides then a great diversity of interpretation. So people are understanding circular economy in very different ways. And because of these differences, there hampers implementation. So people don't know exactly what to do. And it also drives, unfortunately, some skepticism. And here's just a cloudburst of some words which are often associated with that. So clearly, if we take it, circular economy is rooted in the 3 R's, the reduce, and recycle. And we've seen extensions of this coming into the force. Certainly, we see now the 10 R strategies, which are promoted in the EU, but also elsewhere. So basically around smarter product use and manufacturing through refuse, rethink, and reduce, or extending the lifespan of products through reuse, repair, refurbish, remanufacture, or repurpose, and also useful application of materials, recycle, and recovery. However, there's not a very well-established hierarchy in that sense. It might sound conceptually clear, but what is more important is that there are some, of course, the interest in recycling is there because of that there is a convenient truth around this, that recycling and the related practices have an environmental benefit, so it diverts waste from incineration and landfilling, conserve virgin resources, we get high quality recycled materials which have a lower environmental footprint. So there's an environmental benefit from recycling, there's an economic benefit, so that's cost competitiveness of alternative to virgin materials, so recycled materials might be cheaper. And there is, of course, what is currently getting more attention, a decreased trade dependency, particularly for critical materials. If we recycle and we use them, we are less dependent on the international trade from that. And I think also, if we look a little bit broader than the 3 R's, form also a kind of an actionable backbone for sustainable consumption lifestyle. So it gives a very clear agenda for what the society, what people in society and businesses can do to start to live more sustainably and consume more sustainably. However, and that's maybe what I would say, maybe the inconvenient truth, is that recycling, of course, is also a source of pollution. So we know that recycling processes are not 100% efficient. So in most processes, there could be up to 15 or 20% of material lost. And most of material is lost then in crushing and becomes micromaterials. We get microplastics in case of plastics recycling. And of course, it also consumes energy and other resources. We need energy to separate materials, to grind, to recover. And there is, from a technical perspective, there's an element of downcycling, that the material qualities degrades over time. And we could also have the issue of the accumulation of hazardous substances. So there are plasticizers in plastics, additives, which are accumulating if we go through recycling process, or which might become actually react during the recycling process and becoming a health concern. And last but not least, I think there's also people will say that yes, this a whole thing on the recycling is also pampers the consciousness, in that it undermines the waste avoidance. So it takes kind of the guilt out of consumption. The storyline is you can consume as long as you recycle, because then there's no waste. And it also, from the producer perspective, it discharges kind of the responsibility of production. Ultimately, it's also businesses that are putting products in the market, and with these products also involve material use and environmental impacts from a circularity perspective. So having said that, I think that the issue is that certainly we cannot think of circular economy as just a recycling economy, and maybe recycling is the wrong end of the stick if we want to avoid it, basically. So then recycling becomes the last resource in the circular economy. So maybe a more broader interpretation would be to see the circular economy in the perspective of the triple planetary crisis. So of climate change, accumulation of waste and pollution, and loss of nature. And this is clearly man-made. There is one risk that ultimately the planet becomes uninhabitable for human beings. It's not just about plant species or animal species which might become extinct, but the planet might just become unsuitable for decent human life. And that is the real challenge which we're facing. One cause is there clearly the unbridled growth and the use of natural resources, so energy, materials, water, land, and nature. The use of these resources drives climate change, but drives also the accumulation of waste and the loss of nature and biodiversity. So we have basically only one solution, that's decoupling and circulating, or doing more economic output, more products and services with less environmental impact and energy use for more welfare, more wealth for people. And that we could say that is then the circular economy, trying to target the intersection of these three planetary crises, and saying that basically circular economy is then society's best bet to navigate out of this triple planetary crisis. So if we do that, and that's a bit what Switch and others are now promoting, is to think of circular economy more in terms of innovations that circulate resource use efficiently. So if you look in this graph, we have innovation that takes place in product and service life cycles, and that circulate and resource use and are scaled by enablers. So we could see it there, that sense from innovation in products to resource use optimization, and then enable to actually achieve scales. So I would like to focus on, and so sorry, before I go on, I would like to say the innovation is of course not just the research and development, but it's also the design thinking that leads to new products. So it's new knowledge being applied in new products, and then it's entrepreneurship in terms of new enterprises or people taking this forward and bringing this challenging new products into market. So innovation is not just something which happens in a lab, but it's the interaction, the interfaces between research and development, designing, and entrepreneurship. But I would like to focus maybe more on the three strategies which are then for resource use, basically saying that we have resource circularity, so making sure that materials are cycled endlessly, so not just one cycle recycling, but multiple uses. And just to give some examples of what's already happening in the region, this is from two examples from Philippines. This company, Plastic Flamingo, takes recycled plastics and put it into compressed boards, which are used for for partitions and for furniture, and also then have something which is low maintenance, which is quite unique because of the different color varieties which are there, and it can also be easily identified at the end of the life cycle of its use as plastics and be recycled in the next cycle. Just another example also from the Philippines is Anthill. They are basically a fabric manufacturer or a high-end fabric and clothing manufacturer. And they cut in the top picture, you cut the waste fabric into ribbons. And then with the ribbons, you can put them in between the yarn to weave the new fabrics which are there. So with this waste material integrated into new cloths, you get an opportunity for new materials and added value. So some new design opportunities, new product opportunities are arising out of this. And the second strategy is basically resource efficiency. So using materials and water and energy more efficient. And that is the work that UN agencies, but also under Switch have been done on resource efficiency and cleaner production. And I took here some examples from Indonesia, where you see the 4 textile companies or textile garment companies implementing resource efficiency in their operations, and then all having opportunities to reduce their energy consumption, water consumption, reduce effluent loads, chemicals consumption, and greenhouse gas emissions. And you see also that there is a potential for savings in this spinning wheel Supertex. It's 47,000, but it amounts up to an integrated mill to almost $1 million savings annually. So there is still quite some potential for firms to apply known technologies to achieve then resource efficiency. And then the third strategy is then resource substitution. So basically renewable materials, renewable energy for industrial process. And this is an example from Switch to Solar, one of the projects under Switch in Cambodia. They constructed the solar dome as a dryer for fish drying. So it's the solar thermal drone that uses the heat accumulated there. So you dry the fish in more controlled conditions, and you have basically a small PV system for the ventilator to run. The investment is $70,000. Payback is then 6 to 19 months, depending on how much is being used. And you have a reduction of LPG, power use, and labor cost, and improved hygiene and food safety, and reduction of the drying time. So it's not just an environmental innovation, but also a product innovation. So I already spoke a little bit about the business case, which is there for business have an opportunity to reduce their operational costs by using energy, materials, water more efficiently. They have an opportunity to improve revenue generation with better products or new products. I think the other 3 ones on the slide are a bit more intangible, but after all, business growth is often driven by innovation. So if you embark on innovation, new products, new ways of doing business, you will drive diversification and growth of the business, whether you start from an environmental perspective as a circular economy or elsewhere. There's also, of course, the issue of reducing business risk by being compliant and conformance with international standards and with national regulations. And then, of course, if you show that you're embarked on circular economy, you are kind of a future ready, which unlocks then also momentum and resources for growth. Banks will be more likely to give you a loan, or people who are talented might be more interested to work with your company. In the closing or getting to a closing, I would like to share with you that what the Switch Asia is doing to try to bring some kind of the unifying vision around circular economy. And the idea is not so much to come up with definition 300 or 400 for circular economy, but rather agree on what are guiding principles for business action. And we've come up this far with consultations, and I would also be interested from later on in the discussion, we could get some feedback. We've come up with 5. The first one is saying that we're seeing circular economy as moving towards net zero for climate, nature, and environment. So it's net circular economy targets the ending the unsustainable use of natural resources, which is a common root cause for climate change, loss of nature, and biodiversity. So really in the context of the triple planetary crisis. So then the second point is saying that it's the closest natural resource loops by designing in this resource circularity, so endless use of resources, efficiency, so relentlessly practicing efficiency and substituting for renewables in value chains in terms of energy and water. And then the third one is linking it to responsible business. So Circular economy involves basically business taking responsibility for the impacts on environment and society of the materials and other natural resources that are required in the life cycle of products and services. And that is essentially part of the CSR, or social responsibility, in the context of the ISO 26000 standards, where you say you put as a business a product in the market, so you take the profit out of it, but you also take care of what is the impacts on environment, including climate, pollution and waste, and nature. Number 4 is then highlighting the issue of ideation and co-creation. So circular economy frames then is kind of providing us different lenses to look at manufactured products and technologies to find ideas for business improvement, for new technologies, for new products. And so that is a process that you could say is the innovation, or maybe ideation and co-creation, because it often involves collaboration between value chain partners or collaboration between firms operating in the same industrial area. The last one of these guiding principles is then the search for net benefits. So we clearly say that circular economy is driven by the environment. So environment is the framing condition, but you still want to look at de-risking the economy and society from impacts of unsustainable use of natural resources, and looking for net socio-economic benefits. So we start with an environmental angle, but of course we look for implementing those solutions from a social and economic acceptable perspective. So your feedback would be most appreciated. Is this actionable? Is this appropriate and relevant to business and industry in ASEAN member states? So next steps for this Switch Asia initiative are actual collation and analysis of actual circular economy business examples. So we would welcome nominations, and these will then go on the network of the knowledge platform that David was speaking about. We are welcome to create the operational framework suggestions you have, and we are looking towards creating a pan-ASEAN circular economy business initiative. So your suggestions and commitment are most welcome. So in wrapping up, I would say that circular economy, yes, it's a great idea, and we should build upon the positives. And the positives is really that I think the goal is zero. So if you say circular, it means zero losses. Otherwise, you can't sustain the circularity. So it replaces the earlier language which we had of prevent, minimize, reduce, and so on, because prevention and minimization is simply not enough. And it also puts the centrality of resource use for mitigating the triple planetary crisis. So it's about resource use, and we need to focus upon that. I think we should also address mitigating the negatives of the circular economy concept, and that we should get out of the idea of romanticizing recycling. So saying that not all circular ideas have net environmental benefits. We should not put hazardous materials back into situations where people can be exposed, even though it makes sense from a circularity perspective only. We need to take an objective assessment of social and environmental benefits, and prevent and also the offloading of responsibilities for waste and pollution. So with that, I think what is then clear is that we need to accelerate innovation and implementation, and in that sense, intent matters. So being focused on really the goal zero, and the integrity of not offloading business responsibilities really matters. So with that, I will focus and take us to or close and take us to the next part of the discussion. I would be happy. The documents are available. Maybe Sarah, you can put in the chat a link to the business framework, the action framework, so people can also access that. And then I would like to move to the next part of the conversation, where basically I would like to invite our 3 business representatives to speak about their circularity experiences and practices, and give us a little bit of a sight of what is possible from a business perspective. So I have on the call, and apologies for not pronouncing the names fully right, but I can Gerard Ponyanavarapan, but I'm allowed to call him what, from SC Grant. He's managing director of SC Grant, which is in the textile business from Thailand. Then we should have Jeff on the call. I hope Jeff Moons, who's founder and CEO of Knai Bar Chat in Cambodia, which is in the hospitality sector. And then from Vietnam, I have Tan Nguyen joining, who's a project manager Helvetas, which is of managing the Switch Asia cocoa project in Vietnam. So rather than going for too many presentations, I would like to maybe ask first each of the participants to briefly speak to the to what practices the company has implemented in terms of circularity practices, and then we can go on the impacts of on the business and markets, and what are their lessons learned. So what can I start with you for SC Grant? So what practices have your company adopted towards a circular economy?
Okay. Thank you for having me. Thank you, all of you. I think the easiest way is to explain about SC Grant is just, I think the polo that I'm wearing, SC Grant, we take the textile waste and then we segregate and separate the color and then transform into new fiber, yarn, and also fabric. I think the practice that we have done to the customer, we take the unwanted clothes or discarded garment from the garment factory, from the private company, or even the fashion brand, and then we turn into like new textile. For example, we have done with the Thai Airways, we have done with the FedEx company. I think this is what we have done in the past 3 years. Let I talk a bit about this first, so the next speaker can explain. I will share you maybe like a picture later.
Yes, but maybe you can give us a sense of the scale of which you are operating. So what kind of volumes are you dealing with?
Okay, let I share the screen.
Yes.
I explain around 2 minutes then.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
For example, you saw the screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, okay, this is the FedEx cap that we have recycled the old uniform into new cap for them because they want to make a new cap and then they do not want to use the virgin fiber. So they come to us and then we recycling the unwanted clothes, the old uniform, and then transform into new cap. And then in order to do so, we also do the LCA with the third party in Canada, and then they calculate for us that when we use the recycled fiber from SC Grant, what the impact that we have created together. And this is also this is our factory. Okay, we bring the textile waste, we separate the color, and then transform into new one. We mostly focus on mechanical process and also mechanical mill or physical process. Like we try to retain the color of the textile waste. This is the example that we have done. Like we transform the recycled textile waste into new fabric from the home furniture, also like fabric for the fashion brand, and also for the private company as well, like Thai Airways, FedEx, Thai Smile, Bangkok Airways, BMW distributor in Thailand, also the petrol station. So we aim ourselves as a supply chain partner or resource hub in Southeast Asia. We're working among textile industry, fashion industry by turning textile waste into new textile. So our capacity is around like 500 tons per month.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Wat. So it's really a significant business opportunity and a large amount of textiles being recycled. So very, very interesting. So maybe I'll go to Tan. Can you explain a little bit of what the circularity practices are which you are promoting in the cocoa value chain?
Thank you. So our methodology at the beginning, we starting the same like what has mentioned, that we also did the life cycle assessment for the cacao sectors in Vietnam. So we measures and we quantify on the resources and the emissions along the product cycles chains, and to identify which is the priorities for our interventions. And the result is that we see that we have more room for interventions at agriculture size, agriculture phases, rather than at the processing phase of the chocolate and cacao making industry. So when we look at the agriculture practice of the farming practice of the farmers, so we also work with many scientists and many research institutes, and also the company, also the chocolate companies in Vietnam. And then we see there is plenty of the circular economy solutions is out there, and we can also improve and upgrade it, and also scaling up into the practice. So you see in the screen, it is, for example, that Can you go back to the previous? Yes. You see in the cacao fruit, is only 20% of the weight of the fruit is the cacao bean is for making a chocolate, but the rest 80% is commonly is just only considered as a waste. That then the farmer just only threw it there to the farm as a natural compost. But it is not the most efficient way. So from the cacao cells, so we can do a lot of other things. For example, we can use it as a feed meal for the animals. We can also and then when if the rising animals here can also supporting for raising the fish also in the same farm, and then the water from the ponds it can go back to the cacao field. So it is a kind of one small circularity that we can develop along in our at the household levels. So, but another solution that we can also make that we can use the cocoa cells or to make the biochar or to make the fertilizers for other crop as well, and also even that we can make it the cocoa based plastic. And that for some of our company's partners, they can also make some kind of drinks from the cocoa, but not the chocolate. They can make the liquors with the wine with the flavors of from the cocoa shelf, and that we also have some scientific research that saying that the cocoa also have some pharmaceutical functions. So in the future, we think that we can also improve to see whether we can produce any other products from the waste of the cacao. So after this slide, so you can see some pictures in the practice that we're working here. But here you see the cocoa shell is using for the growth and also using to make the ciders. Can we go to the next? Yeah. Yeah, here is that people can make it biochar from the waste of the cocoa. So it is kind of low cost method to make the biochar. So we're trying to scale it up in Vietnam now. Can you go to the next one? Yeah. Yeah, here is some others some other technical solutions to improve the farming practice of the efficiencies practice at the farm levels, that we are raising the black or red ants in order to fight against the negative insects on it, and this is can have to make it use less of pesticides. And also we can also use the pepper waste that is neighboring the farm to use biofertilizers and so on. Yeah. Yes, here the same with using red and black ant. And here is that bioplastic that's coming from the coffee waste, coffee or rice husk, and sugarcane waste that in Vietnam we make it bioplastic, and then bioplastic we can make a bio packaging like this one. And for the next year we are going to work the same with the cacao waste also. And here is just a company to make the liquor from the wine. Actually, for some previous years, it's very good in the markets, but presently the tax for alcohol in Vietnam is increasing, so it's smaller a little bit.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so we just consider to the economic business whether it's profitable and whether it is feasible to work on it.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Stontan. That's very interesting. So looking at only 20% is the beans, so 80% of the fruit being utilized for other applications, and that both includes more conventional animal feed and related ones as well as new ones. So we'll all have a chocolate wine tonight, isn't it? That sounds like a good plan. So that's very good, and combined and also with the improved farming practices. So a really comprehensive approach. So welcome that. So if I can ask you, Tom, so what do you see? What is in there for the farmers and for the process? So what are the benefits which they could look for?
I think for sure that if you can do something with the side product or the byproduct, it can bring additional income for the farmers for sure. And secondly, is in the broader perspective, it's better for the environment because now people throwing the waste out there to the environment, and it is really it's not good in the environmental aspect.
Yes.
Yeah, but then also we have also the challenge. The challenge is coming from the availability of the technologies out there. So it's not so many R&Ds, not so many research are working intensively on this aspect. And also I think important is the economic business models. So we need to develop a very good profitable models in order to make it work in a large scale.
Yes, and if I may ask a follow-up question, so how is then the response from the traditional value chain? Because the traditional value chain is of course just going to chocolate, but are the chocolate buyers interested in this, or how they are participating in this diversification of the value chain?
Yes, I think the chocolate buyer and the chocolate maker are also interested on it. Because, for example, so when we're producing the cocoa-based papers and then use it to wrap it, the chocolate. So when you have the chocolate with the packaging origin from the cocoa tree, so it should be interesting, and this would be the incentive for the companies or for private sector to invest it in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you. Maybe I'll go back to what maybe you can also explain on how this circularity practices have helped SC Grant to become what it is right now. What's the impact on business markets and environment? What you see?
Okay, regarding the impact one, I think I did mention about the LCA, large scale assessment, large scale analysis, and then let's say when you want to do the new uniform next year, you can send your discarded garment or the old uniform to us. So it's like less consume virgin raw material. So it's less using natural resource, less using some chemical process. For example, we always like retain the color of the textile waste. So the polo that I'm wearing is no dyeing process at all. So when you decrease the dyeing process, you release like less CO2 as well, and no need to use any chemical for dyeing. And when you do not grow the new cotton, you decrease to no need to use like pesticide or fertilizer as well. So the impact is coming to the number of CO2 that we have decreased per month, and the customer that working with us also be part of the solution for our shared future. And we also accumulate the number of the impact that we have created each month as well. And we also put it on our website as well.
Yeah. Yes, that's good.
So it's like less textile waste,
Yes.
less CO2, and less some chemical process.
Yeah, and with the dyeing, it would also be traditionally a lot of water than being used, and wastewater, isn't it?
Yeah. But
Yes.
there is a lot of water consumption, a lot of dyeing consumption. If everyone can Google it, they say that fashion industry has responsible around like 15 to 20% of the water pollution, and also regarding of the CO2, fashion industry also like responsible around like 10%. So I think there is a lot of technology out there, more than million technology. But for my technology that we are focused and develop in the near future, we always focus on any technology that use like less chemical process one.
Yeah. And in terms of developing then the technologies which you have clearly mastered to get products back to high quality use, is that largely your own innovations, or have you worked then with textile machine manufacturers in this?
Both. I think we're working not with the machine manufacturer. I think our strength is always like in the past 50 years, because the first generation, they do like trading textile waste.
Yes.
And then the second generation, they do like textile waste and turn into like new textile as a raw material for the mass product. And then as my generation, we start to expand and always like utilize the strength that we have in the past. Whatever the textile waste come from, we can make it into like suitable fiber to spin to the yarn again. So we're working with our R&D team and also we working with like the partner that they quite familiar or good at their technology,
Yes.
but we
yes.
good at the textile one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say a lot of partnership, but not the machine manufacturer.
Yes.
Like
yes.
the scientists that they good in their part.
Okay, thank you. I see we have Jeff back on the call, so it's good to see you, Jeff. So maybe I can ask you. Jeff is representing the Kai Bang Chat in Cambodia. So maybe can you say something about your circularity practices which you have adopted and developed for the hospitality sector? Jeff, can you hear us, Jeff? Jeff, you're muted, I think.
Okay. Now we are online. Okay.
Yes.
So thank you, Rene, and thank you, Switch Asia, for inviting me here today. Circular economy, it's very important today, but it is for Knai Bang Chat an old word, a word that offers most of us a sustainable mindset, but it also needs to be one that offers us financial and corporate delight. In our world today, it's not only efficiency, but also effectiveness that counts. And this is why Knai Bang Chat is already in the circular economy for more than 10 years. We're Platinum International Certified Sustainable, and we work on 480 KPIs through the Green Growth 2050 templates. The circular economy gives us a lot of benefits. People like the product. We offer guilt-free travel templates. We are not only efficient, but also effective. We do the right things and not only doing things right. There is a big difference in that one. Do we earn more money with it, with circular economy? And yes, we do, because we measure ourselves and because we measure every little part of our operation. We are managing our property and our resort very efficient with a lower cost. So I think these are the benefits, Rene.
Yes. Yes, that's very good, Jeff. So you clearly have very well taken it forward, and you will put a lot of emphasis on the indicators and measuring yourself. So measuring is knowing and driving then the performance. So Jeff, if I may just stick with you for a second. So if you were to speak to other businesses, what would be your recommendations? Where should businesses start to look for if they want to embark on the circular economy journey?
Well, we can definitely help them. There are a few pitfalls. So first of all, I am going to say awareness, action, mobilize, catalyze, facilitate. We need the business actions, and that's where the private sector is coming in place. If you want to go circular in the hospitality, with your restaurant or your hotel, the most important thing is to create a green team. Because it's not because the CEO or the general manager is telling, we want to be sustainable, we want to go circular, that you will do it. So all the head of departments are part of a green team. That means that my 100 staff are all part of the green team through their departmental heads. And then you start communicating, and you do weekly your green meetings. And if you have a fail, we call it the first attempt in learning. And we motivate each other, and through motivation and through establishing little things that makes impact, we create the perfect team. So do not be afraid. Circular economy is very easy. Very easy. We just need a template for all the head of departments and the managers to follow. And this is what I hope to do in Cambodia to make an international certification program based on the ASEAN Green Guidelines in the hospitality sector. And then it's very easy. You don't need to study. Every head of departments is working on a few points every week with his team. And finally, at the end of the year, if you work normal, well together, you become certified. And when you become certified, you receive the rewards on national and international level. And what's happening now is I have to go, for instance, to KEP. We have a sea festival. I will get certifications tomorrow and Saturday, and I didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
I was not controlled. I was not audited. And then we have something that is not trustful. So we need, in circular economy, we need to make templates that are trustful for the local people, for the hotel owners, and for the international crowd.
Thank you, Jeff. You mentioned quite a number of things there, but I'd like you to focus on we need to be trustworthy, and to be trustworthy, we need a performance, a transparency, accountability against standards, and the standards and the indicators is something like you hardwire in the organization, but you need to also softwire it in there, bringing everybody on board with what you call the green team. Basically, everybody in your company is responsible. There's no circular economy manager, but everybody is managing the circular economy aspect. I think we are running a little bit out of time, but I want to come back to Tuan, maybe from his side, and then on what to you on what you would say. What's the recommendations for other firms if they want to start with circular economy?
I think in my point of view, if we touch with circular economy, we need to do in a kind of a systematic way. For us, that we do the valuation analysis, we do the life cycle assessment to identify the scope of work first, and then we identify the other innovations and opportunities later.
Yeah. Okay, so you say a proper value chain analysis to identify the hotspots where interventions could take place. Okay, thank you. What from your perspective is key to get started, to give as a recommendation to other firms?
Yep, I think there's always people say that like waste from other industry become like the resort from to other industry, like Mr. Tang just mentioned, because they use like the waste from agricultural waste and then become something else, like the wine that we can drink as well. And I believe that every production, every industry, they have waste in their production line for sure, or they have like a little bit waste in their factory. So when they see the waste around the factory, and they might mess up with the technology that's already available or working with strategic partner, I think this is the easiest way. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So focus on the waste streams and see what value is possible out of those. So thank you very much. Thank you, Jeff, Tuan, and Wout for your contributions to this side. And I would like to hand over to Thomas. Thomas, can you take over for the moderation of the next part?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, René, and Wout, Jeff, and Tuan for a fantastic presentation. Now, my job is to get views on what you have said. And I have with me for this session, Mr. Gil Gonzalez, the Executive Director of the ASEAN Business Advisory Council, and Ms. Yanti Triwandantini. She is my boss as Chairman of the ASEAN CSR Network, and Hans Magnati, from the Green Industry Platform, Green Growth Knowledge Platform. So we have three very wise people around, and I think we'd like to get their views on these three presentations. If I were to take back from the three industry experience, I realize there is a hard part of circular economy where you use innovation, science, technical aspect, hard data to get those products, services done. And you also have a soft part of it, which actually supports in us as more important, where you build trust, you build teamwork, and you build good systems in place to do with it. And so it's a fantastic holistic approach. Now, can I just ask Mr. Gil Gonzalez, Gil, what inspiration do you take from these three company presentations?
Thank you, Thomas, and good afternoon to everyone. I'm sorry, I'm inside my car as I'm running from one meeting to the other, but this seems to be the best place, most quiet. But can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you very much. Of course, what I just heard, the three presentations from companies who have ventured and, have made successful ventures into circular economy as precisely what we from ASEAN BAC are looking for. Because as you know, ASEAN BAC is a purely private sector institution, which provides platforms for many reform areas, one of which, of course, is on sustainability. And circular economy is one of our key agendas. Now, unless we, of course, are able to provide specific cases which are compelling enough to serve as models for others to replicate, many of these things that we do will not go very far. So the more that we see that companies on their own initiatives are able to do this and are successful at that, we are therefore very interested to partner so we could amplify the voice for circular economy. So as you know, circular economy is so massive, and that's why we need governments to work with us so that they can put in the policy environment that will facilitate, the learnings and the understanding and what we call the mentorship needed by companies, specifically MSMEs, on what circular economy and what the benefits are. And precisely, it makes economic sense to go that way. It's not just a buzzword. It's not just a missionary thing that we have to do. But precisely, we are now faced with the question of survival in this landscape that we are in now, which has been very challenged. So here we are. Our role here is simply to partner with you, partner with drivers like you, with knowledge partners like Switch Asia, who can provide the innovations and the deeper understanding and thinking of what circular economy is all about. And we in the council, where most of our members represent the chambers of commerce. So as you know, you need to have order every time you introduce a reform. You need precisely business organizations and associations and professional associations to work with you to facilitate the drill down of such a reform of circular economy. So we are here to help you, as I mentioned, replicate, and at some point to introduce it to each of the ASEAN member states, and later on maybe we can work together to acknowledge them and give some awards to those who have already succeeded. So we are here really to welcome this initiative and work closely with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gil, for that very clear, comprehensive take on these things. Can I ask Ibu Yanti, what's your inspiration?
Thank you so much, Thomas. And hi, everybody. Good afternoon for my friends from the ASEAN regions. And also good morning earlier for those who based in Europe and elsewhere in the world. Thank you for having me here to actually respond to the three speakers before, which I just would like to appreciate them, that within their own industry sector, they are actually the champions that have been proven that circular economy actually works. Because I think it is important for us all to see proven records and to bring people to follow to the ideas, and also the transformation is indeed a long journey. Many of them might be still skeptic about how to actually they start, but we need to start somewhere. So what I sort of like of interest to me is that looking at how each of the industry sector actually they have their own typical way of applying or implementing this circular economy. There is no one fit for all model for all industry. Although, you know, from the last speaker, Jeff, I think I have some takeaways from him about how actually to make circular economy transformation works is actually do the things right, as what he said. But I see also the important having the strong tone from the top in every company. So once the tone of the top is there, you know, the green team can be established, and then the template can be co-created, and the whole rolling of the journey can start it from the strong leadership of the company. Because I think that is the one of the key success factors that that I sort of like learned from this conversation. The second one, I think the key success factors that we need to find as well as we need to create is the enabling environment, and that includes the regulation, of course, and with the various country situation in terms of politics and so forth. I think we need a strong national leader to be able to drive the whole agenda of circular economy. As we all see, you know, the circular economy comprises of the producer part and then the consumer part, and the consumer part is always difficult if the people power is not there, you know, the willingness and the appetite to actually buy products that actually adopting sustainability concept perhaps is not there. Of course, challenges are there, and I think as we go along in the journey, challenges only can be mitigated once we all try. Because if we don't try, then there is no such experience we can get or lessons learned we can get. The next one that I would like to also bring up is that for business in particular is that once they know what's in it for them, I think that's how the business will start doing it seriously. It is not about looking good. It's not just about reputation, but it's really about the bottom line of the business, which is basically what's in it for them, economically, socially, and environmentally, of course. And then the last one, I think, is that no matter what happened, no matter how strong a company would like to implement circular economy in their practices, they need partners. They cannot work alone. And I think like what we all know in terms of sustainability, sustainable development goals, we need to embrace everybody in the whole process. Is that, you know, basically nobody left behind. No one left behind in the process, and that can be approached through value chain or supply chain of the industry. So I've had a first-hand response from one of the CEOs just a few days ago saying that I have done a lot of things, but I feel lonely, and what I need are friends and partners with whom I can drive this for the long haul. So partnership become very, very important. And I think from the point of view of ASEAN, the ASEAN CSR network, where Thomas and I are working, we see us as a hub of those collaborations. Because, well, we are based in Singapore, but I'm in Jakarta, and we have other colleagues in all ASEAN member countries. So the hub of collaboration is always needed. And that would work as an accelerator towards this transformation of the circular economy. So that can be done, I think, by many activities, including mentoring of the large companies and the small companies, but also providing a platform for learnings among the large companies. Once again, nobody can work alone in this, and it is a long journey, and we should start somewhere. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you. And I'm not going to say anything. more for the very comprehensive responses we got from Gil and yourself. Can I have Hans for your views now, Hans?
Thank you very much, Thomas. And it's a pleasure to be here and have heard so many important and very interesting insights from everybody. And I can only but build upon what's already been said. I think what struck me a lot about the three presentations from Tuan Wat and Jeff is we have so many opportunities here. And at the same time, we have so many challenges. It's quite fascinating to see what can be achieved, also in a financially viable fashion. I like the way Jeff kind of emphasized that, you know, they earn their money by this. Tracking everything is makes this a viable business. So again, we've really seen there's great opportunities in all of this. But like I said, a lot of challenges. And I think maybe what underlines these challenges, Yanti, what you just said about your reference about people feeling lonely, for sure, I think this is a core part of the challenge is how do we get everybody involved in this? How do we make a true business case right along the supply chain, right all across the different value chains so that everybody is playing their part? That probably is the one challenge we need to overcome to really realize all of these clear opportunities. And I fully agree. And I think Jill made a point about the need for policy, that we need strong policies behind all of this. The reality, though, is that takes a long time. I mean, we've been talking about policies since many years, and we know how complicated it is to get effective policies underway, and more importantly, policies that are cross-border. I mean, we talk about loneliness. It's countries being lonely because they are isolated and doing it on their own. We need really a global approach on this, which is extremely, extremely complicated. And this comes back, I think, to the business case. Let's show how this can work from a business case, which means we need to go back to, for example, corporates that have supply chains and these corporates that have responsibility towards their consumers. And maybe we need to focus ever more on working with these corporates and their supply chains so that they incentivize and motivate their suppliers to actually become more resource efficient, to get involved in circularity, but not push them. I mean, incentivize them, motivate them, support them, because at the end of the day, the corporate's the one making a lot of money out of this. So they should be there to support and incentivize their suppliers. Now, what those corporates need is they need good information from the likes of Switch Asia and all of these great experiences that we see, all of these great opportunities. So suddenly you see, we're talking about a true value chain here. We're talking about how the great experiences from programs like those being talked about today get really shown and proven to the corporates. The corporates transfer that motivation in support to their suppliers and support them along the way. And then you begin to see that there is a viable trade opportunity here for countries, and countries buy in and start to create the policies that really keep the momentum going and push it perhaps further. But that's the complication about circular economy, is that it's many, many different pieces. And it is about bringing everybody in that value chain together. And unfortunately, policy should be the leader, but in reality, in today's world, we know policy kind of follows a little bit. And I think we need to not wait for policy. I think we need to show the way so that policy comes quicker than normal, but probably following a lot of the example we set. So I'll stop there, but I think the key thing is, yes, it is very easy to quote Jeff, but also very complicated.
Thanks very much, Hans. I also want to tell all the participants, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat box. We will try and do it. So don't be shy. If you really want to express yourself, you can state it in the chat box that I got a question I prefer to do. I would just, one of the things that I heard from all of you three discussions was the word in different forms of the words that Yanti talked about, loneliness, because I think Gil talked about scaling up, and you're lonely because there's nobody else with you, or there are not enough friends in that light. how do we scale up? How do you think from your organizations you could get this up? I mean, Gil mentioned a few things, but maybe what is the most important thing to get this scaled up, Gil?
Yeah, I like what was mentioned earlier, that this need not just feel good. I agree. And in fact, it should feel great if you have a bottom line and you make profit. Now, what we can also propose, just to get things, and I guess basically see some kind of an actionable model to scale up. One is to put three elements together. First, I already mentioned mentorship, where a lot of the capacity building, the awareness, and being able to bring like-minded people together, to help companies, whether big corporates, middle, and small. Okay. Well, a second element, of course, is to bring in the market. Those are willing to buy from a supply chain that are into the circular economy. That's where I think the big brother approach that was mentioned really comes in. Because as soon as you have a market and you have the production base that is very much into the circular economy sphere, you can bring in the third element, which is finance. Finance is willing now to fund the transition of these companies because it's viable. There's a market, there's an offtake for whatever products or services that will come out of this mentorship for those who are able to, are more committed, who provide a more successful work plan or strategy in their shift to a circular economy based production base. And you bring in the market who's precisely committed to say, oh, I want to only buy from these companies who are like me. Okay, so I'm not lonely at the top. Then you're able to bring the third element, which is finance. Because this finance is very important to bring them and to initiate their circular economy journey. So maybe from ASEAN back, because all the different champions are already there, I believe. It's just trying to come up with a more workable, comprehensive platform where there can be such a program and where we can initiate to, plant in the foundations for these three elements together. Thank you.
Thank you. Yanti, can I ask your views on scaling up?
Yeah, I think when we talk about scaling up, I think we need to also think about how we start. And with the Swiss Asia capability to be able to start somewhere, a pilot of the implementation of the circular economy can start with a value chain approach. I think in the past, we all learned that clustering same industry might not work. But like Gil said, if we have the market that actually have the demand, then the producers would automatically try to supply and meet the demand. So I think we need to sort of like start looking at how the industry, based on the value of its value chain, to start doing a pilot together. The second one, I think, for scaling up, coming back to the loneliness there. The other side of the coin of that loneliness is competitiveness, or perhaps competition environment. Large companies will do that if their competitors do. Otherwise, they see this is just a burden that will lower my competitiveness against my competitors. So creating a level playing field would be an important springboard, to be able to scale up. Otherwise, people that just keep waiting and waiting and not wanting to actually champion themselves. That's my view, Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I ask Hans and things, I just want to say that with the circular economy project that ASEAN is doing with Switch Asia, with a lot of brilliant people contributing to it, we have already, as Rene explained, done the first part of getting this whole idea of guiding principles, looking at focus areas, looking at metrics, and we are in the process of writing case studies. So I hope we get enough of those stories to do it. And ultimately, we also want to create a platform of companies which actually addresses some of the points that has been raised. So before I ask Hans to respond, I would like to take this question that was the first one that was sent in by Ajahn Lan, which I will ask whoever can speak, just raise your hands and address it. His question is, would it make sense to make a differentiation between local, regional, and global businesses with their respective supply chains? And next step, look at regional possibilities to solve problems and align possibilities. The approaches and differences are very different for these respective companies and need different tools, networks, and policies. I think Ajahn, if I could say, he has actually answered this question as well. Brilliant. Of all the guys in the photo, I see Rene looking the most anxious. So I'll let him have 1 minute to answer and then respond. And then it comes up. Rene, you want to say anything on this?
Yeah, I think it's clear that the market opportunities and the driving forces are quite different if you're in a global supply chain or supplying the local shops around you. So it makes quite sense to see that maybe at different tiers one could try to start working. And as I also explained in this framework, we talk about efficiency solutions, which basically everybody can do because there's already immediate cost savings which could start. And then the businesses which are in global value chains could maybe look also at more of the advanced opportunities where collaboration is needed and long-term strategies on research and innovation are needed. So I think it makes sense to look at specific opportunities. So we've provided with ASEAN CSR network these 5 guiding principles, and you could see that as the 60th floor of a high-rise building, and we probably cannot jump from ground floor there to the top. So we need different levels where we can start and where we can operationalize. And I think that if I may quote Jill, I think you're also saying that we need to help to provide practical tools so that people can get started in their operations. But maybe some of the other panelists might want to come in on this as well.
Yes, Hans, because you have also you does things on a global scale and as well as regional. So what's your take on this question?
Well, for sure, what one does in Brazil is not going to be what one does in Kenya. I mean, it's 2 different countries, 2 different cultures, 2 different climates even. Why would one try to have a uniform approach? And similarly on a global scale. So yes, there's no doubt that you need to take an approach that takes into account the local, regional circumstances. And I would even say local. I mean, at the end of the day, what it comes down to businesses on the ground that are local, regardless of their size, working with a local population, with a local environment, with local situation. So yes, we need to focus first and foremost in a local fashion. However, learnings can be shared between countries, between regions on a global scale. A technology can be used in the exact same fashion between one country, even if it's used in a slightly different approach because of a different climate. At the end of the day, the technology can be the same. So learning should be shared, should be encouraged, but how they can be adapted to the local context, I think is very important. And I think this actually comes down to the last question that was asked there about how can we work closer with business associations to give them ownership and responsibility. I think there's a lot more needed to be done about local empowerment. We in the international community, I work within a UN initiative. Switch Asia is an EU-funded initiative. There tends to be there's a tendency for these large organizations to have too much influence on local matters. And in a way, we need to have much more trust for local entities to take leadership, to be able to take ownership, and drive this. They are a trusted intermediary with the local businesses. At the end of the day, we on the global scale are too far removed. So I think there's a lot about local empowerment needed here as well. And that would be a way to differentiate between the local, the regional, and the global.
Sorry, have you finished? Because I wanted to just say that, yes, we have to take regional, local approaches, but some of the local problems are also trans-border. For example, what can you import if you import in something and the country decides it's waste and therefore waste cannot be brought in, it's a problem. So we also need certain solutions regional. And which reminds me of the quotation when ASEAN was agreed in 1967. Then I was a little boy then. One of the founding fathers, the Foreign Minister of Singapore, he actually said that we cannot have an ASEAN solidarity and cannot get greater good for the region unless each of us give up a little bit ourselves. We can't have all win-win unless we have lose-lose. So I think the region must also save, not selfish, but for the global good, think globally as well. So I agree with you on this because people can't relate to you. And then you are perfectly right about big, because sometimes some of the funding for projects in the region is so remote from reality of the region sometimes. So because we all come from a different mindset and different things. But I think you've answered the question. But before I forget, there's a specific question for what on SC grant on question what do you, okay, I'll read up the question and therefore will you please try and answer this question? What as the leading circular sustainable textile company in ASEAN, you got that honor from, I think it's David who gave you the title, so you may have to pay him for that reward. What are the implications for the new EU strategy policy for sustainable circular economy textiles for your company? Does it provide you with new opportunities or better market access to the EU, or does it pose a challenge to your trade with the EU? What? Did you respond to that?
Yeah.
First, you have to thank him for the title.
Thank you for the question. And okay, there is I think it's gonna be opportunity for sure, because as you know that right now, I get a lot of contact from the foreign brand, both like local brand and global brand, that they have like supply chain in Southeast Asia. Because normally when they have the textile waste in the past like 5 to 10 years ago, they might like incinerate or burn it or send it to landfill because they might have some logo of the brand on it. But right now they try to contact us and working closely with us in order to develop something new from their textile waste. And there is a lot of policy happening around the world regarding circular economy concept and about like carbon credit or even like tax incentive, that if you can release your product can release like less CO2, there might be like some tax incentive in some country. And for the opportunity right now and the challenge that we are facing right now, I think we're lucky that we always act ourselves as a supply chain partner, because everything gonna be like transparency and traceability. So I think that's the opportunity for us, that we're working closely with the garment factory, both like local brand and foreign brand, so we can turn their textile waste into new textile and export back to them again.
Thank you. I think time is running out. So before I think there's this.
Thomas, could I maybe ask what's a follow-up question? Because I mean, okay. It's interesting to see that you have on both sides a market. So do you feel that your business is growing because there's more waste being offered to your company, more textile waste, or is it because people are looking for circular textiles? So where's the business driver for your company coming from?
we act ourselves as a recycle hub in Southeast Asia. So there's a lot of textile waste happening in Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and also like in some ASEAN country as well. And those amount of textile waste right now, I think more than like 70% they dump it in landfill or incinerate. But we wanna do something about this. So I believe that the opportunity for us that we can turn those kind of waste into new resource for them, so they can decrease using of virgin raw material. We just one part of solution for our share future. There's million technology out there, so we just one choice to work with them.
Okay. Could I sorry, I just ask, Ronnie, have you got any more question to ask? Because your question is always good.
No, I wanted to also invite others to come in with more questions if there are any. So please dot it down. I think maybe there was some question raised about the role of business association, business membership or associations in different sectors on what role they could play. Could I ask this maybe to Jeff, and maybe what, if you want to come in, what do you see as the role for the industry, for the hospitality sector associations or the tourism association in UK, Jeff, or for the textile sector in case of what? So Jeff, do you have any views on that? Yes, you have views, but you're muted.
Myself. Okay, yes, I have, René. Every chapter and every redirection can play positively or negatively. And I will explain you. So private sector initiatives are most of the time redirected to committees, to bodies, to a national vision. And when you connect as private sector to a national vision, then they bring you 80% down. Because on national level, people have to trust the whole community. And we were just telling that it's lonely at the top of circular economy. The private sector, with Switch Asia, I think this is spot on, that we work through private sector and creating gateways with the support of committees and bodies and with the support of organizations. I think that is the way to go. But I applied already a few times for subsidies in different programs. And what happens? People endorse private the private things that we do and that we outperform. Then they reflect on the market, and then they say the market cannot follow. Then they write dossiers themselves, and we end up with people creating awareness and picking up trash. So we really have to, and this today in this webinar, it is a unique opportunity for all of us to also mirror our ideas, because if we have, for instance, in the hospitality sector, and let's say I work on 480 KPIs and it's normal, nobody, not everybody.
Jeff, we are losing you.
Do this.
We lost you, Jeff.
But like we said, if people can make
Okay. I hold you on, Jeff, and I'll come back to you because I think your connection has some difficulties.
Hello.
Now it's better. Can you speak?
Okay.
Jeff, can you hear?
Do you hear me?
It's cracking.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, now I hear you.
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. Carry on then.
Okay, just to quickly finalize this. So Switch is going to through private sector and committees, and this is really the way to go. And then together with certification projects or something, build up the capacity of the market with support of those committees and organizations.
Okay.
And
thanks.
that's what we need to do. And to be successful, we need to make a rule-based circular.
Thanks, Jeff. I think it's almost time. So can I just round up by asking Tuan and Wat as well to also say what's your, do you have any last words of add value to this? Tuan, John? Can you explain? Hello? Can you hear me?
Juan, can you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, unmute.
Yes.
Just one last word that you have to give on your experience. What would that be?
Yes, for me, is that when we understand the value chains, you know who are the most influence actor in the value chain, and in order to make change, we should focus on these actors at the beginning. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. What about you? What would be your most significant thing that you want to tell us?
Oh, for me, right? Okay. I think in the future, all the waste is going to be like circulate in each region, like in Europe, in maybe China or around China, in USA, North America or South America, and also it will happen in Southeast Asia as well. So that's what ASEAN gonna become in the future for the supply chain partner. But I believe the waste always circulate in every region in the future in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah,
so
and
there's
also waste will be
opportunity for everyone.
Okay, and the waste will be reduced as they innovate and move on as well. So you can I then ask Hans? You'll be things. Can I ask Gil what is taking into account all that is said? What will be your last words? Sorry, your last piece of advice.
Well, let's create more noise. The policy stream will always be slow. I could sense the frustration. Same with me. It's a long haul, but we have to just be there to keep on pushing national leaders to make circular economy a national agenda, a regional agenda. That's one. Second part, private business should do what private business can do. Start small, okay? We cannot be as ambitious for as long as government does not give you full support. But precisely, we see your champions doing it already. With or without government support, things are moving. So I think it all compels us to move ahead, come together, work together in sharing experiences, helping companies assess where they are, how do they start, give them a simple toolkit, and then go sectoral, and then bring in the big brothers. There are many elements. It's like a big puzzle. But, you know, unless we get everybody in one platform, you know, we could be talking until we turn blue, but nothing will happen. So the earlier, the sooner we can get together and work as a real team, that would be fantastic.
Ibu Yanti, what is your advice?
Mine will be pretty quick though. Whilst I actually echo what Gil said about the strong national leadership that will push ahead the agenda of circular economy. We all know that in many of the ASEAN countries, there are lack of enforcement, with the exception of few countries. So I think we only have the strategy whether we will apply the stick or we will apply the carrot. So I think we need to start thinking about, you know, creating the incentive, you know, for the business to be able to champion the transformation. That's from me. Thank you.
Hans, I kept you for something. You will have more than the last. But what's your take and what's your piece of advice for moving forward?
Well, I'll keep it short because we're on time as well. But the first point I would make in terms of going forward, I think there needs to be more collaboration between international organizations and their support programs. They very often work a lot in isolation. And one thing for sure is businesses get frustrated by the amount of different initiatives that are out there to support them on circular economy. And if we want to help them, we need to help them in a simple, unified fashion where we need to collaborate more first to get the right message across in a more efficient manner and make it easier for businesses. So step one, let's look at our own houses and get them in order so that we're better placed to support businesses. Second, let's facilitate a better exchange between buyers and suppliers. At the end of the day, buyers often have a lot of difficulty in connecting with their suppliers along their supply chain. If we can help facilitate this exchange of information and data, at the end of the day, it's both things, I think that will also help create a stronger business case. So get our house in order from the supporting side and support a better exchange of information and data between the buyers and suppliers. And we might have a better chance of making this work in the absence of strong legislation.
Thanks. I think there's before still in my session, so I want to ask Rene to give his take on as a concluding things before I pass to Anthony.
I want to first of all thank everyone, because it's interesting perspectives, and I think a little bit on the national perspectives and the business membership organizations. So there's a bit of a balance of getting everyone on board, and on the other hand being progressive enough and ambitious enough. So we need more ambition and also more people. But I think overall this is a very interesting discussion. We need to take this forward. If you allow me, Thomas, I would like to basically reiterate that this webinar is hosted by the ASEAN Circular Economy Stakeholders platform. So we have heard quite some stakeholders. So I would like to basically pass the ball back to Dr. Anthony and David. Maybe you've heard the stakeholders. So what's your take? And maybe I can hand it over to you to move forward with some closing remarks and some observations from your side.
Thank you, Rene.
So let me just, for my session here, just say thank you also to all the panelists and everyone, and thank you for all this. There is a lot that we had heard, but I think it will all be summarized beautifully. So thank you very much. And David, Anthony, it's all yours now.
Thank you. Thank you, Thomas. It's nice to have the last word. My takeaways from this my key points are this. The phrase "need compelling business case studies" as mentioned by Gil, and Yanti, I think your point on "I am a successful business person, but I feel lonely," and this is related to perhaps mentoring big companies to small and big companies learning from small companies. I think the need to scale up and to find like-minded individuals, I would call them like-minded diamonds. Jeff, you talked about certification projects, which I found extremely interesting. My background is from HIV, and we also talked about MSME networks with big corporation support. I have spent most of my career running business coalitions on HIV, and these resonate quite clearly with me. And I think we established business coalitions all the way from India to Australia, and these were like-minded individuals. So I think my response to all of this, I think, and to all of us, and especially Switch and the platform, is that we can use our existing platform to push for this network. And I think networks from companies like SC Grand, and especially hospitality companies like Jeff, I think the platform is there. And we will certainly take on board your excellent suggestions. And before we could not do this, 10, 20 years ago, but now with information technology and IT and all that, we can do this. And even webinar series like this is a good beginning. So we will push ahead on this, because we're ready now to develop these networks. And I think this is a good beginning to develop, perhaps by industry, or not necessarily, because I find that diamonds And our presenters, company presenters here, I call them diamonds. I think it cross cuts industry, you know. So our platform is there to support like this, and I think it is an excellent start. David, maybe you want to go into the mechanics of this on you know on the platform and how you can support the networks and things of that sort, the capability of the platform.
Okay, of course, we do have a strong reach in this region and beyond, of course, and again, please feel free to engage with the platform, share what your stories, your knowledge, and from what the main takeaway from today. My main takeaway is from Han. The keyword is collaboration among the supporting initiative. More collaboration is needed, of course, in order to provide a more strategic approach to our support to business and other type of entity. Apart from that, I'm really learn from the wisdom of our speakers, the change management process of Jeff, the strategic approach to the analysis of the supply chain from our Vietnamese friends, and Kun Wat mindset on the waste to treasure thing. That is very nice. And yep, and last but not least, I would like to express my humble gratitude for all of your time, contribution, participation, and more importantly, the support of the EU Switch Asia in organizing this webinar series to foster the adoption of SCP practice in the context of circular economy across the ASEAN region. Thank you. ขอบคุณครับ
Thank you. ขอบคุณครับ
So that concludes our proceedings. So please stay in touch. Thank you everyone for your participation and your contribution. I hope this was informative. So thank you very much. Have a nice afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are at this point in time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and look forward to more case studies, more projects, more work together. Thank you. Have a great evening, afternoon, morning.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.